Hello and thank you for joining me. This is Ultra Human and my name is Rachel and I am here to help you be your best human. So today I wanted to do that by sharing something with you that I have been taking advantage of. I had some prior videos that I did about this, about light therapy and seasonal affective disorder, so I'll have links to those in the card and in the description. And today I wanted to talk to you about taking my own prescription to take advantage of this light therapy and how that's been working for me and kind of how I work that into my day and my schedule. So, first of all, I did these videos a while back about seasonal affective disorder and how that has affected me personally and some facts about ways that we can mitigate those things in our life. And I just wanted to kind of update that. Certainly, it is now, today's November 9th, and I was definitely having a lot of these things compound on me, and I was having a very hard time getting out of bed in the morning. Still kind of am. I'm still adjusting to everything, but I have had this Lightbox for about a week, and I have had really great. I wasn't sure what to expect. This worked really well for them, but I know that most of the research has gone into the bigger and more expensive fluorescent light boxes that are like really big, like little like LED screen TV sized big light boxes that are like in the $300 range, and those do work really well for people. They are what is the most researched, and so if you have the accessibility and finances to go ahead and try out something like that, they are well tested and they definitely work. But anecdotally, this has really worked well for me in the last week that I've been using it, and they are said to work very well for a lot of people. So this is the light box that I got. It's the Cube Tech. This is the middle size. It is a little more than a 6.5 inch box. It's about the size of this box. It came inside of it. And I got the middle size one. They do have a much smaller one that's only like just under 5 inches. And they have a larger one, which would be better because when you use these light boxes, if you can kind of imagine like rising up out of the box a cone of light and like where that might meet, like, you know, when you have a flame and the flame has a cone, well, light also sort of makes this shape that's a lot like a cone, and that's where the most intensity, when they say that the light is a 10,000 lux light, they're talking about in that cone of light is where the 10,000 lux is. So the larger the light, the larger the cone of light, which is why those big LED light boxes do work so well for people. So the little ones, they might get 10,000 lux, but you might have to have it like right up in your... One of the neat things about this particular model and why I ended up with this guy is because when I did some of my research on the other LED lights that are available, for one thing, the first red flag to me is that a lot of people were talking about it burning their retinas. And we already talked about in the light therapy video about how blue light, there are certain advantages to the blue light that you get when you're like outside during the day, but overexposure to blue light causes macular degeneration, and that's not good. And so this light is actually a cold cathode fluorescent lamp. So that means that it's not an LED, and it's something about the physics of the way that an LED light is set up that causes, basically when you make a white LED light, you have to add phosphorus to a blue LED. And like, remember how back in the day, maybe you don't remember, but LEDs were always either like green or red? That's because of the chemistry of the way an LED light works. And so when you get an LED light box, they tend to really peak in that blue light spectrum, and you don't want that. You want a nice even color temperature. So this is the color temperature of 6,500 K, which is supposed to be like a blue daylight sky. And that does not mean that it peaks in blue light, apparently, necessarily. It's just describing the temperature of the light And that's really what you're going for. You want the nice sunny blue daylight sky, because when that reflects on everything, that's how we get like the normal even tones that we're used to, versus like I'm sure we all are kind of familiar with if you walk into a convenience store at night and everybody looks a little bit green. That's because of the chemistry of those light bulbs. They tend to reflect more green light. Because this is a cold cathode fluorescent lamp, it also, the way that they've designed the Lightbox, it doesn't have any spots of greater intensity. So the LED light boxes that have that, you can typically see the LEDs behind the light box. And that tripped me out because I did not want my kids, who are going to be around this, to get, like, you know how kids stare at stuff like the sun or light bulbs? I did not want them burning their little retinas by staring at this bright as the sun light box, which is what some people described. Like if they were be sitting there typing at their computer and then happened to look over at their light box, they'd look back at the computer and they'd have all these dots burned into their vision. So that doesn't seem good or healthy. So I decided I did not want to go with any of those light boxes, and luckily I found this one, which has been working quite well. Forget the dosages. So if you can maintain 7 inches away from your face, which I actually have one of these. So 7 inches away from your face. That's only this far from your eyes. That's pretty close to your face if you're thinking about, like, because you're not supposed to necessarily be looking straight at the light either. So if I had something this far away from my face, I'm not really sure what else I'd be looking at. Other than, I guess, maybe if I did something like this. I was looking over there. But if you do that, that cone of light, where that cone of intensity is probably about 7 inches away. So if 7 inches away, that's reaching your retina, you only have to use it for half an hour a day. On the other hand, if it's up to 15 inches away, which this is a 12-inch ruler, so like a little bit farther away than that, which is totally doable. That's like where it would be sitting if I'm facing my desk and I have my computer set up back there while I'm doing homework. I would say probably about within that 15-inch range away from my face. So then you only need to be sitting like that for about an hour a day, and this can be like over the course of the day as well. So if you get 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there, then that will all work as far as like the melatonin production and what you're trying to get out of it. And then up to 22 inches away, you can be around it for 2 hours a day at 22 inches away, and you're going to get that same effect. So there are all different kinds of ways. I've heard of people putting the light box up on a stand in front of them while they walk on a treadmill, for example, which is another kind of dual purpose good way to get in like some movement while you're finding time to be around your light box. In the first couple weeks that you have the light box, they say not to have it on full intensity all the time, and this is because you can actually fatigue your eyes. If you've ever like gone inside like from an office or from a building and then walked out on a bright day, like especially when there aren't like clear doors, and so you just like go straight through like one of those big metal doors and you walk outside and you're like, ah! That is kind of what you're doing to your eyes if you have gone a few months into the fall or the winter and you might not even have been around a light that is as intense as like the bright blue summer sky for maybe even a couple of months. And so when you start being around that at first, they say this particular light box has a dimmer on it, and they say to use it at about half intensity if it's going to be really close to you. Otherwise, what I was doing is I would leave it at about half to 3/4 intensity, sitting about 20 so inches away from my face while I was making my pour-over coffees in the morning, and then I will set it up next to my computer while I'm either watching a podcast or watching like some yoga thing and getting some movement in first thing in the morning. Because the farther that you are away around it, let's say that you just know for a fact that you're going to be in your house maybe even all day. Well, if you are around this light, like several feet away from it, for 4 to 6 hours of the day during the right time of day, then you're going to be getting a lot of the same effect out of it that you would be if you sat with it in your face for half an hour. Make sure that you're getting this light at the right times of day. So on the card that came with it, it said between 6 and 8 o'clock. I actually like to use it, I do typically wait to turn on the Lightbox until 6 o'clock in the morning. Before that, I am using, again, these guys, my Prospect glasses that are the blue blockers. I use these in the morning and the evening so that my body knows when to go to sleep when I'm using them in the evening, and also not shocking myself awake when I wake up very early, like at 5 o'clock in the morning. I want to be able to ease myself into that waking state. And I talked about that a little in my light therapy video about dawn simulation. So this helps me out a lot with that, both in the evening. And also, frankly, I like to use these when I'm indoors a lot during the day, when I'm in buildings that have a lot of those like greenish fluorescent lights. I find that these kind of help. I just really don't like being around those lights very much. So like when I go to my school library, for example, or if I'm going to be staring at a computer screen for a lot of the day, I will wear these guys as well. But you don't want to have them on all the time, because you do want that natural sunlight, or simulated sunlight, as long as it's the right color temperatures. The other thing really quick that I use in the morning and the evening are actually these Blue Busters light bulbs that I have now in my bedroom, and I have a couple of them downstairs, and they do more of that. You can see the spectrum. You see that spectrum right there, where it's more in the red and way, way less in the blue. And that is a lot more, I think of it as kind of like flame light, and it makes a lot of sense that like as humans, for most of the time that we've been able to simulate light in the evening and in the mornings, it would have been with fire. And so being able to use something that's like more in the spectrum of a flame is going to like naturally assist our body in knowing that like, okay, we can see, that's great, but this isn't daylight. So using softer and more red lights, or like blocking out the blue lights in the morning and in the evening, is just as important as using this thing in the actual daylight hours. So personally, I like to use it between a window of about 6 o'clock in the morning and 6 o'clock in the evening. So kind of like a good solid 12-hour chunk. And this is more of like I like to think of it as like an equinox day. Like you're getting 12 hours of night and 12 hours of day. And I really feel like personally that's how I feel the best. When even in the summertime, when like the sun starts to go down like really late in the evening, like 8 or 9 o'clock in the evening, sometimes like 8:45 is when the sun sets here, and so it's still light outside at like 9:30, and I have a hard time with that. I don't know how to get an idea of this light. It's really cute for one thing. I actually really like it. I mean, I know it's just like a white box, but there were some online that I saw that didn't have this kind of like aesthetic appeal. I feel like it's nice and symmetrical and white, and it comes with this little wooden stand that's really simple, but it works for what it is. You can see in the back it kind of like runs through it, or it can, and then you could unhook it. If you wanted to just like hang it from a wall, you can just like do away with that thing. You could hang it up like in a cubicle or something like that if you want. So that's all the way down. That's all the way low. As you can see though, that is still pretty bright. The secondary thing that I found out was really cool after I bought this is I'm totally going to use this as a studio light now, because it's nice and diffused, and it's nice and white, and it's going to be a great little studio light. So hey, get your light therapy while you make your YouTube videos and it'll all be good. So, and this is all the way bright. So I have not tested this personally. I don't know if this is a true 10,000 lux, but it's supposed to be, and it sure does feel bright. You can kind of tell how bright that is. But yeah, and so I would say right now it's probably about 12 inches from my face, and I can look over here, for example, if I wanted to have this sitting next to me while I was doing something else. The one thing that can be kind of screwy sometimes is figuring out how to position it, like what you're going to set it on, and I don't know, I just lean it on things for the most part, and it works. And like I said, sometimes I have it farther away. You can kind of tell, though, that like, there it is at arm's length, and now it's off. So it's the stand right now. It really does make a significant difference, even when it is that far away. And so like if I am doing my movement in the morning and it's a little bit farther away from me, I feel like I still get a benefit from it, where I'm becoming like more awake and alert and aware of stuff. So that is pretty much all I have for you today, is just a review on this light. I have, for one thing, you might notice if you've been watching my videos, that I have a desk behind me now. And so that's just kind of some evidence as far as like how well this has worked for me. I got it last week and I got really ambitious and I cleaned my room quite a bit. I will have an update for that on my other channel, which I will leave a link for in the description. But there it is for you guys, and I missed being here. I'm going to be jumping on making videos again and everything. This, really the seasonal affective disorder was a big part of that. Also just like life coming at me real fast, and getting to taking care of business. I'm going to be traveling around, and hopefully this weekend I will actually have an interview and a collaboration with another YouTube creator. So I will see you soon, and in the meantime, get out there and be your best human. Thanks.